Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Deniz Armagan, a.k.a. the Wellness Doc, bringing you all things healthy for your mind, your body, and your soul. The topic of discussion today is mental health and holistic treatment options. And I just want to say that this is such a pleasure having you all here today. This is the second time in a few weeks, and I'm looking forward to many more. We have some incredible information to share, and let's get right to it. So, what does mental health consist of? Well, we're speaking about balance. And I think most people can relate to physical balance when we speak about muscles and also being strong, having a good heart, endurance and balance and things like this. So very similar in the brain is that we're looking for the hormonal and chemical reactions that help us with mood and also adapting and handling various types of stressors that we want this type of balance and equilibrium or homeostasis. Big word there, folks. So let's get right into it. Obviously, we need to speak about the pandemic when we speak about mental health. And one of the top new catchphrases is COVID fatigue. So what is that? Well, let's talk about some of the symptoms. And I think most of us have experienced one or more at various levels of intensity during this period and maybe even now. Various types and feelings of not only loneliness, but from loneliness leading to isolation. That's a big problem, folks, because we as humans need to be around other humans. We need to be part of a community together. So when we start to isolate, that's when things start to go haywire and become unbalanced, and then leading to, and we can't not speak about this, suicide, which the rate actually has increased lately with COVID. It was already on the rise each year pre-COVID, but now with COVID, it's at another level. And I'm not going to speak too much about that because I'm a solutions person and we're going to talk about hope coming up very soon. I just want to touch upon this. If you have a friend, a family member, a coworker, someone that you know that they're verbalizing these types of feelings, the best thing you can do is listen. Do not try to assess and give advice. So be there for that person and say, how can I help you? Or what can I do for you? And you see, once you get to that point, it might go further where they'll verbalize to you that, hey, I need help. What should I do? And again, you don't need to be the expert, but say, you know what, probably help you if you got a counselor to work your way through these difficult times. So I'm going to leave that off to the side. Let's go talk about some facts that have occurred with mental illness pre-COVID, post-COVID. So pre-COVID, we're talking about 1 in 2 people were feeling loneliness and isolation. Half of the population. Now, at this point, we're up to 2 out of 3, or almost 70%, 2/3 of the population are having these feelings of isolation and loneliness, which is part of this COVID fatigue. And, also a lack of energy, a lack of interest in the things that we used to like to do, those are classic signs of depression. And unfortunately, we're seeing it in our children. Here's another unbelievable fact that I just read about a couple of days ago. 10% of our youths are suffering with major depression. 1 in 10? Okay, we need to do something about this. And again, in about a few minutes, I will be giving you some really amazing evidence-based techniques that, here's the great thing, they're very easy to replicate. And anyway, I'm getting very excited about this. So I'm just going to throw out a few more facts. The problem is that only about 1/3 of the population that are suffering mental illness are getting help. And see, I think that part of that is, and I'm going to say this, we need to break the stigma, okay? Because if the majority of the population is suffering, then that actually is the norm. So to admit when one is suffering from mental illness, that is not a weakness. That is actually a strength. And see, when people are very successful in life, whether it's an athlete or a business person, they have a team, and when they need help, they ask for help. It is a strength. It is not a weakness. We have to break the stigma that people that have mental health conditions, there's something wrong with them, when in fact it's the majority of the population. And what I shared with you is a third are not getting help, so that means they were diagnosed with one of these conditions, whether it's major depression, bipolar, PTSD, trauma, whatever it is. Does that mean that those are the only ones? No. How many are undiagnosed? So again, that's why the number is much higher, and we need to address this now. We all focus on physical health, which is very, very important, but our brain is the major control center. So getting back to this COVID fatigue, we can beat this. We are beating this, and I'm going to go into what we can do. So the next few treatment options that are holistic, that are research-based, that actually work on the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the relaxation, activation, and that helps calm things down. It brings not only our bodies, our minds, all of the chemical reactions in our brains to an equilibrium and a very healthy and productive state. And what's the opposite of parasympathetic? Is sympathetic nervous system, which is our fight or flight part of the autonomic nervous system. And see, here's the deal. We need that also to help us through emergency situations. However, we don't want to stay there, and that's why we need a counterbalance to it, something that's going to bring us back down to where we need to be, where we're most productive. And I just want to say that this is similar to with diabetes, where we have blood sugar and we have insulin to counteract, and insulin is a hormone, to counteract the negative effects of too much sugar in our body, which over time leads to insulin resistance and then, of course, diabetes. So we don't have to go that route. All right, let's get right into it. Number one on the list, EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. Well, that's a mouthful, folks. Try and say that 10 times. But what it comes down to is you're alleviating the distress of the traumatic behavior or the traumatic incident that has happened in your life. And the way it's truly amazing how this works. And you might say, well, how do you know, Dr. Dennis? Well, I had the opportunity of working with a few colleagues and experiencing what it feels like to go through this amazing process. And it comes down to bilateral stimulation, right and left. And in one case, it would be lateral eye movement. So like this, look to the right, look to the left. And it does have varying levels of speed, which is a big part of this. And then you are guided by your counselor, who will then help you to focus in that day, that moment, on the most disturbing, difficult, traumatic event that is bothering you right now, that is blocking you from moving forwards. Isn't that amazing? Getting that obstacle out of the way so you can go. And it's phenomenal how this works. And what happens over time is that negative traumatic event now becomes, instead of being a block, an obstacle, it becomes a stepping stone for us, the human, or the client, whatever you want to say, patient, to then move forward and now view it as, oh, the intensity, the huge intensity that was there is now maybe not even there or at a very low intensity. So that's how we adapt and move forward. Here's some stats on EMDR. It was created in the 70s to help with the military personnel with PTSD specifically. And over time now, do you know that over 100,000 clinicians across the world are utilizing this technique? and millions of people have benefited, significantly healed during the past 25 years. You remember, folks, in the last show a couple weeks ago, 7 Steps to Healthy Aging, I always said, look at your source of information. Well, that's a big study of people over 25 years, millions and millions. And the other part of this is 80% of participants in EMDR are completely show significant healing in 12 sessions. That's unbelievable, folks. We're not saying 12 months. We're saying 12 sessions. And you might say, well, what is the difference between that and regular talk therapy? Well, in short, this type of EMDR therapy truly facilitates amazing healing insights of the patient, by the patient. And so that's the opposite, because with talk therapy, it's really the clinician who is then diagnosing and interpreting the information and then sort of giving, an output of that. So big difference. It's a permanent transformation. It's phenomenal. And here's the other thing, folks. It's not just for trauma and PTSD situations. It is that effective that is now carried over to people who are, right? We all have challenging days, really difficult times. Some of us have low self-esteem. Some of us have unworthiness types of issues. It is now being moved and utilized in those situations, which is phenomenal, folks. And here's the thing. It's 100% holistic. Are you kidding me? Look, here's another fact, okay? Psychotropic drugs, medications, have tremendous side effects, and they're not good. And you know what? With most medications out there, they are temporary at best, and as far as being effective in a permanent transformation, there's a high probability that that's not going to happen. But with this EMDR therapy, this is a permanent transformation. There's tons of documentation out there, and I'm telling you, folks, check it out. If you're really struggling out there, which we just went over the stats, so most of us are, try it. You have nothing to lose. You just need someone who's specialized in it. All right, next on the list, we're going to talk about vagus nerve stimulation. And you might say, well, Dr. Dennis, what the heck is the vagus nerve? I'm glad you asked. It is one of the cranial nerves, so in this big processing center in our brains, and is responsible for our heart, our lungs, our gut, so digestion. So let me ask you, folks, you think it's pretty important? We're talking about heart rate. We're talking about respiratory rate. We are human, not machines. So without the heart and lungs, how are we doing, even if we had huge muscles? See what I mean? This is how important it is. And again, this vagus nerve stimulation, here we go. You ready? It is the relaxation activation that helps us to then bring things back down to normal, to create that equilibrium and balance that we all strive for. And unfortunately, sometimes when we have chronic conditions or we're just having a really tough week, those stressors go so high that our adaptive capabilities start to diminish. But when we engage in these types of highly effective holistic treatment options, like vagus nerve stimulation, we will have a permanent transformation, and it's a cumulative effect. A plus B plus C equals championship. All right, and you might say, how do we do it, Dr. Dennis? Well, let's do a little demonstration here. So what you would do is it works on holding your breath for about 5 to 10 seconds. Now, let me clarify here. We're not bearing down like when we go you know where, okay? It's a hold, it's a relaxed, and it's a slow inhale with a 5 to 10 second hold, and then a slow exhale. So I like to do this when I'm doing Tai Chi or other types of martial arts warm-ups. So I'll just show you right here. So when you're bringing back in a Tai Chi, right at this point is when you hold that breath for about 5 to 10 seconds. And again, not bearing down, just very nicely like this. 5 seconds, and then it's a slow exhale towards the end. Here's the great things, folks. We activate that parasympathetic nervous system, which is relaxation, activation. And it gets us to a point, it prepares us, the foundation for healing, for permanent transformation where we can move forward. It increases our adaptive abilities. So when other stressors come, this counteracts that, just like when we talked about glucose, sugar, and insulin counteracting the negative effects of that. This parasympathetic nervous system is key in our equilibrium as a human being. And you know what's funny? It will enhance and optimize mental, physical, and emotional well-being. Okay, number 3 on the list. We're going to discuss how an attitude of gratitude literally helps transform the brain chemistry for so many people. And again, there is research to back this up. So in short, if we can look at, we've all been through stuff in our life, okay? And our perception of the actual event varies with each people, with each person, with people in general, with each person. So the thing is, if we focus on the fact that, yes, we went through a lot, but then say, hey, you know what? We got through this. You can get through it. I can get through it. And we all have gotten through it. So that's the key, is saying, okay, I am thankful that not only did I have to go through this, but I got through it. I overcame it. I bypassed it, and it made me stronger in every part of the word. And it also prepared me for the next tough event or difficulty or trauma that comes up. And so you build that thick skin like a rhino. Okay, rhino's super thick skin. I was watching on Animal Planet the other day, and they had to, some of the veterinarians had to inject, actually they were doing acupuncture, and they had to get special needles because the skin is so thick on a rhino. And so getting back to that, it's not just being able to get through a situation and overcome it, but then building up that super, super thick skin. And we're talking about mentally these coping mechanisms that you can use your entire life. And so you could also, if you want to, you can write down on paper. And it's really good to see this, where, hey, you know what? I went through this and I got through it, and here I am now. So I'm ready for the next tough, like a boxer, right? Or MMA guy or lady, or when we're training. We're ready because we're training for it. And that's what we're doing with these holistic methods, is we are creating a beautiful foundation to counteract all of those negative experiences that we've had over time. And you see, we think we're so strong as humans, and this is where we're going to talk a little bit about neurology here. We think we can bypass and say, yeah, I'm fine. It doesn't work like that, because eventually it will resurface. And I always say this, you can't sweep stuff under the rug. You need to face it straight on, but you also need to have the tools on how to address this. So this attitude of what? Of gratitude. And I'm not here to preach, but obviously, if you look at anything that's faith-based, any religion that's faith-based, it is about being thankful and having gratitude for what you have in front of you. And I'm going to bring this up right now. We all have stuff, right? But let me ask you this. What was the number one thing that people, when they acquired COVID, that they couldn't do? They could not breathe. I can't even imagine what that is like. I'm talking, and all ages here, right? We know what the stats are. Over 500,000 people died from this. I had 2 close friends that died from this that were healthy. So, but we need to look at that. Every day we wake up, we should be saying, thank you that I have breath. Thank you that I can stand and walk. How many people out there are struggling physically? They're having trouble walking. How about systemically? How are we doing? Cardiovascular disease, heart attack, stroke, number 1 still, with all the information out there. Come on, folks. We have to be proactive. If you want things to change, you have to do something different. And it starts here. And we are all blessed with an incredible mind that, here's another fact, right? Albert Einstein used, I think it was 9% of his capacities. If he did that and he was a genius, what are we using? 2%? What if we use 3 or 4%? So it's embracing change. And what I'm sharing today with these holistic treatment options is, yes, it is a behavior shift. It is a behavior change. And with those small changes, I call it a stair-step approach, you will have a permanent resolution. You will have a permanent healing, which is what we all need. All right, let's get into the next holistic treatment option. In the last show, we talked about 7 steps to healthy aging. And I mentioned Tai Chi and yoga. Well, I'm going to elaborate on that a little bit. That was the physical benefits of Tai Chi and yoga. Now I'm going to talk about the mental, emotional effects and benefits of Tai Chi yoga. Kata is, for you folks out there that don't know, it would be like a warm-up sequence for karate, very different forms of that, very similar to Tai Chi and very similar to yoga, so that's why I put it in there. So here's the key. Not just performing these movements, but now we're going to add 2 things. We're going to add diaphragmatic from your diaphragm, which is underneath your ribs. And if you don't want to use a big word, then we'll say deep and slow breathing. So that's part of it. And then with that simultaneously, we're going to address visualization. You've heard it before, folks, right? If you can see it, you can achieve it. So on a neurological level, you are reprogramming your own brain. And that is possible, just like a computer, right? When we have a virus, well, does that mean it's the end of the computer? No. We have antivirus software, and there's other things we can do to prevent. And that's what we're getting down to here is, so while you're performing your movement, you are focused on your breathing. And once that breathing comes down, and if you could hear my tone, what happens? Relaxation, activation. Parasympathetic nervous system opens up. That switch goes on. We want that. It increases digestion. It increases mood. How many people have digestion problems in this world? Celiac disease, IBS. I mean, we can go on and on. And so if our gut is performing and optimizing where it should be, that, right, healthy bacteria, the majority of the time, that actually affects everything. Our thinking process, our ability to focus, concentration, mood, on and on and on. And here's the other great thing about having this balanced, right, we said equilibrium, homeostasis environment, is that with all these types of treatment options that I'm sharing, this is now also having a positive effect on our immune system. Hello, everyone. What was the deal with COVID? Yeah, it's a problem in our immune and our respiratory system, which I'm going to be honest with you folks, COVID has really shown a light on the state of our immune system, and it's not that good across the board. So this is something that will power it. It will supercharge it, and it can keep growing. There's no limits. So if your immune system is on 100% overdrive and performing optimally, like our tremendous Olympic athletes that we're seeing, and I always think of Simone Biles because she's unbelievable, and there's amazing athletes out there, but she's performing optimally. You can do this. It doesn't matter your age. It doesn't matter your history of injuries or ailments. Start today. You can do this. And if you can't do it by yourself, get the help that you need. Remember, when you ask for help, it is a strength. It is not a weakness, contrary to what I guess the popular belief is. And here's the deal, folks. Everybody has an opinion. And I'm going to say, just like a nose, we'll keep it here. So how valuable is that opinion unless that person is an expert? And you know what? Unfortunately, with the internet, everyone thinks that they can look up stuff and they call it researching. That's not researching. That's looking up something. And again, you got to look at your source. So, you know, when we put all this together, folks, this visualization and seeing yourself get healthier, What's on your mind? What do you want to do? Do you want to play tennis again after being hurt for a few years? You can do it. What do you want to do? Do you want to swim? Do you want to get in a adult league and play some type of sport? You can. The key is you have to set it in your mind first, and then of course, using some of the steps that I shared in last show, that will get you there to create that foundation. But we have to be healthy in our minds, and that needs to be primary. And these holistic methods, I'm telling you folks, this is not rocket science, but the key, and I always say this, is the frequency. How often are you doing something, right? A plus B. It is the cumulative effect where we are having synergy between multiple systems. Our minds, and then we talked about vagus nerve, right? Controls heart, controls lungs. So these multiple systems are all being mitigated by one nerve. That's unbelievable, but it's all connected. We are living human beings that are always changing. You know, some people talk about, what's guaranteed in life? And, you know, the pessimists will say, taxes and death. And I kind of laugh at that because the truth is change. If we look at things 2 years ago, 5 years ago, that is inevitable. So we have to have this open mind to say, you know what? It's a little challenging, but I want to change. Behavior dictates action. And I want to tell you folks that I'm here to always provide hope. We mentioned what was going on previously. We mentioned what happened during COVID and the pandemic. But there is hope. There are miracles that have occurred out there, and it continues. People opening up businesses, people writing books, people even healing from cancer and other major ailments. So if we focus on these types of things and input this into our minds versus some of the negative stuff that's out there, whether it's on TV or other forms of media, we have a choice here. And that actually helps us to really strengthen that foundation, to make us super, super strong to handle the things that come our way. See, I look at it this way, folks. Good things are going to happen and bad things are going to happen. So it's your thought process on how you interpret these things. And if you have that attitude of gratitude, then you will supercharge that parasympathetic nervous system, which is relaxation, activation, which helps us thrive and heal and move forwards. If you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. And I'll tell you this, folks. If you think you can't, then get around some people, even one person, that believes in you. Because when you believe in someone, that's how people move forward. You don't step on people to get ahead. You collaborate and you support each other, and you utilize and acknowledge everyone has an amazing individual skill set. Let's stop trying to push each other out of the way. Let's come together as one to help each other move forward. And all I want to say is, this is Dr. Dennis. I'm here to provide hope, support, encouragement, and specialized knowledge so that you can optimize your level of performance in your lives. God bless. It has truly been a pleasure here. Thank you for your time. See you next show. Take care.